So this panel actually, it's such a pleasure to be moderating this, is three individuals. Carla Diana, who's actually a designer. She's a designer, an author, an educator. She enjoys living as close to the near future as possible, and I think her work will show that. In her studio, she works on future specting projects, so when she's sort of speculating on the future, using robots and sensors. Some of her work you may have seen, so when you see it, you'll go, oh, that's amazing. So I think you'll have a great reaction to some of her work. She's also a fellow at the innovative design firm Smart Design. Many of you probably touch and interact with some of the products that come out of there, and perhaps she's had a significant role to play in that. She oversees the Smart Interaction Lab. She's also an educator. She's taught, in fact, she started some of the first courses on what we would now call sort of digital fabrication classes or things around making or critical making. She was also visiting faculty at Georgia Institute of Technology, where she was the creative director of the iconic humanoid robot Simon, which I think you'll see. And she's written a number of articles. She just had something up here recently in the Atlantic and also in the New York Times, so she's often, her wisdom is drawn on. And I'm going to give a plug, because I love this. She just came out with this children's book on making, and it's actually how you can, it's the first book that you actually read the book, but you can actually, if you have a 3D printer, you can make these characters and you can actually kind of narrate the story yourself. I don't know, I love it, my kids love it, so buy yours soon and get an author's signature. The second, I'm just going to introduce, give you a little introduction to the framing, and then we'll have the speakers come up. The second speaker is Ken Goldberg. He is faculty here in Industrial Engineering Operation Research. He also is faculty in Electrical Engineering Computer Science, art practice at the School of Information and Department of Radiation Oncology at UCSF Medical School. More to the focus here, he's also a faculty, and he was previous emeritus director of the Berkeley Center for New Media, so he has a principal role in bringing us together here as someone who's led a vision in this particular space. He's has a long and established career of working in a really important way at this intersection of engineering and art and technology. And he's also directs the Art Technology Lecture Series that many of you, I see familiar faces, and past speakers here, so I appreciate people coming. He's also a very dear friend. We've had a long sort of personal history. And I think I'm going to hand out, I think I mentioned before that the speakers were giving them these little Messinaire tetrahedrons that they're getting on a little base. This is the kind of symbol for the Berkeley Center for New Media. And they have these little base, and it's inscribed. It was just something we made in the invention lab here in the building. And you also get a cool robot out of paper you get to build. So you got to have that. And many thanks to Cesar Torres and Chris Myers, Jill Miller for putting together this kind of combination. That said, felt like Ken should get something a little different because he kind of has something like this. And I recalled that it's 10 years of the Berkeley Center for New Media, but 20 years for a project that was really inspirational and foundational in this space of art and technology. The Telegard's about 20 years now. And so we are presenting him this. So a shout out to Colin Ho, who really did the heavy lifting, and Chris Myers that put this together. I'm just the messenger here to deliver it to you. So thank you, Ken, for all of your hard work for the Institute. So finally, the last speaker will be Mark Pauline. And many of you are familiar with Mark's work. Maybe you've had personal experience or smelled it or sort of interacted with it more directly from an olfactory standpoint or he's the founder and director of Survival Research Labs. It's a group that's been in operation since 1978. There's no way that I can sort of spew forth a long story about his accolades, but he really is a true artist that's represented this field of taking technologies out of their usual role and manifesting them in ways that are unique. And in some sense, some of my interesting discussions with him when he's talked about Survival Research Labs, he says, it's sort of how I imagine what the machines would want to do if we weren't around as people telling them what to do. And it's sort of, I like that description because it's sort of, I imagine that it's this way that they would behave or operate. I've had the pleasure to participate in some of these shows. This was a show in Amsterdam. And I know from a robotics standpoint, it's very interesting because sometimes when the machines come out for this, to me, just being about 20 years in this, working with him, they feel like friends and they have personalities, and I feel very kind of a kinship to them. I remember sort of troubles they got in before and how they got out of it or didn't get out of it. And there's a lot of like-minded folks in the crowd I know that share this vision that have been at a lot of these events. So we'll hear from Mark at the end and more about the story of robots as they would like to live.